Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, January 19, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Friday, January 22nd and Monday, January 25th, 2021 have been designated as public holidays in SVG. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves during an address to the nation last night. The Prime Minister said the holidays are for public health purposes and persons are advised to stay home during such a time, while businesses were also asked to consider Saturday as a bank holiday.
Accordingly, earlier today, I instructed the Honorable Attorney General to prepare and cause to be published in the Gazette the requisite legal instrument proclaiming Friday, January the 22nd and Monday, January the 25th to be public holidays. These are holidays for public health. So we will pause, reflect, act inclusively in solidarity with one another and pledge to stay fully engaged to confront head-on our existing and prospective challenges. In this coming weekend, Friday to Monday, we will stay at home, stay away from the beaches or mass gatherings or places of entertainment or leisure. Let's reduce the extent of the movement of persons on these days. I urge businesses to approach Saturday the 23rd as if it were also a usual bank holiday.
The Prime Minister said that traffickers in agriculture will be accommodated and treated as essential workers on Friday, January 22nd to export their produce. He said given the spike in COVID-19 cases in the country and the threat of the La Soufrière volcano, the anxiety of the people is taken into consideration, and hence it is time to pause, refresh and reflect.
I sense that across our nation, the faces of men and women are strained and anxious about the increase in the local COVID cases, the effusive oozing eruption of La Soufrière, the socioeconomic challenges ahead this year, and the uncertainties and the unknowns before us. To be sure, this anxiety among our people is mixed with a resolve that our faith, our indomitable spirit will see us through successfully these awesome challenges. Yet we perhaps need, as a people, to pause, to reflect, to act more assuredly in ways which are inclusive, in solidarity with one another, and be engaged fully for the long haul ahead.
In regards to a national lockdown, Prime Minister Gonsalves said in other countries this method has not been effective in reducing COVID-19 cases. He noted that since there was a spike in cases in SVG, additional measures were implemented by the health authorities and reiterated his position that no lockdown will be instituted at this time.
So our government will not at this time of a spike in the cases, even with a spike, order any state of emergency, lockdown or curfew. But the current restrictions and regulations would be tightened and managed more closely. And where necessary and desirable, we would ramp up the restrictions and controls further. I repeat, that where necessary and desirable, we would ramp up the restrictions and controls further.
Further, the Prime Minister said that calls made for mandatory wearing of masks is also not being considered at this time. He, however, urged persons to comply with all the COVID-19 protocols by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment. SVG on Monday confirmed 46 new COVID-19 cases. 44 of the cases are nationals with no history of recent travel. One case is a non-national who traveled from Germany and another from Brazil. A release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said both adults arrived with negative results and tested positive subsequently. There are now 402 local cases of COVID-19 under investigation. NEMO said these cases comprise residents from throughout SVG, which have been linked to various types of clusters, including work sites, churches, and private parties. 119 persons have recovered from COVID-19 in SVG. 419 cases remain active, and 2 persons with COVID-19 have died. 540 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in SVG to date. NEMO said all positive cases will continue to be isolated until cleared after 14 symptom-free days and a negative PCR test result. Persons in quarantine awaiting their results are asked to strictly adhere to the requirements, including not leaving their homes until cleared by their negative test results. Persons with flu-like symptoms and close contacts of confirmed positive cases are also encouraged to seek health care at one of the district health centers, which offer only COVID-19 related services. NEMO noted that all of the other remaining community health facilities on the mainland will continue to offer routine primary health care service, and that the Stubbs Polyclinic and the Bookament Polyclinic will, in addition to their routine services, will offer exit screenings by appointments. It said the health facilities in the northern and southern Grenadines will offer both routine and COVID-19 services as required. The World Health Organization, WHO, which last Friday changed SVG's classification on its COVID-19 dashboard from having sporadic cases of the virus to community transmission, has reversed its classification after an objection was made by SVG. In a press statement on Monday, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said that the WHO International Health Regulations Regional Contact Focal Point acknowledged the objection and has decided to correct the classification. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Simone Kieser-Beach told NBC Radio today that is now classified as SVG is now classified as having clusters of cases which they are more comfortable with.
WHO, the PAHO ECC region WHO, changed our status on the 15th of January from sporadic cases up to community spread, community transmission. When we observed that change, we got in touch with them, and it was determined that a notification had been sent, but through an inactive email. And we challenged the categorization because the definition of community transmission is that you have cases where you cannot identify what the primary contact was, the primary positive. And that is the majority of cases. And that is not the condition in some situations. So we challenge it based on what the official designation is. And the IHR, regional IHR contact, agreed with our position, and they changed the designation to clusters of cases.
SVG will be looking to source COVID-19 vaccines from various countries, including Russia. This as Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves projects a late arrival of vaccines to SVG as part of the COVAX arrangements expected at the end of the first quarter in March this year. On the radio on Sunday, PM Gonsalves said 3,000 vaccines have been promised, but they will have to wait on the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CAFRA, to facilitate the acquisition.
To get immediately 3,000 doses for 3,000 persons from Russia for the Sputnik vaccine, but we're not moving on that other than keeping in communication until the WHO and CAFA give the okay, because the WHO has engaged the institute in Russia which produces this vaccine. with pre-qualification discussions. At the moment, the WHO has done only Pfizer. Very shortly they're going to do Moderna, and then a little bit later they're going to do AstraZeneca, the Oxford vaccine.
In his address to the nation last evening, PM Gonzalez said that Cuba and India are other countries being considered for sourcing vaccines, and provisions will be made in the budget to ensure vaccines are available for Vincentians.
Vincent and the Grenadines is exploring additional possibilities for sourcing vaccines, including from Cuba, India, and Russia, subject always to the requisite authorizations through the WHO and or CAFA. Resources are being made available through the 2021 budget for additional vaccines for our population.
The Prime Minister also noted last evening that resources will be provided for storage of the vaccines upon the arrival in SVG, and that the molecular lab will be boosted with additional equipment. Health Promotions Officer Shanika John is advising persons with flu-like symptoms not to self-diagnose with COVID-19 or dengue, but to seek care at the nearest flu clinic. On NBC Radio this morning, John said that it is important that persons, especially those who are in the high-risk category, to know their status.
And St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have quite a number of cases on the investigation, and all of those cases have been linked to a positive case. And some persons, the contact tracing is still ongoing. And for some persons, it's important for them to be able to know their status. And we mentioned a couple of weeks ago where some persons may reveal contacts after the fact. So we don't want persons on the workplace having a cough or any flu-like symptoms, which is a cough, a runny nose, a sore throat, something tickling in your throat, a fever that just went away for one day, loss of taste, loss of smell, anything of that sort. Seek care. Go to the flu clinic, let them know that you've been experiencing the following symptoms, and allow the healthcare providers to evaluate you and assist you accordingly. I've heard the stories. People are saying, I just had a cough. It was just a cough for a day or two and it went away. I was fine. I didn't know that was COVID. And so this is why we're really asking persons not to self-diagnose.
John highlighted the flu clinics in the various districts where persons who are experiencing flu-like symptoms can go and get tested for the coronavirus.
So if you're in the Pembroke Health District, it's the Mayhew Health Center. If you're in the Kingston Health District, you're in the Kingston Health Center. The Calico Health District, Calico Health Center. The Cedars Health District is the Bible Health Center. The Maracay Health District is the Levi Latham Health Complex. And the Georgetown Health District is the Georgetown Health Center and the Sandy Bay Health Center. We'll post the list again today. It's also on our website, and I will share it with the media houses, asking them to post it as well so that persons can have the information on hand within their particular district to know where the flu clinic is. All the other health centers within all the other districts will offer the services that are needed for persons who may have other existing conditions. So your regular diabetic, hypertensive, antenatal, whatever service you would need will be offered at the other health centers within those districts.
The health promotion officer used the opportunity to appeal to persons to desist from discriminating against persons who they know have the coronavirus.
Last week, I used you as an example for COVID-19. That does not mean that you have COVID-19. That was just an example and a reference point. We want persons to be mindful, not to assume or speculate or start rumors, because we're all humans, we have feelings, so we want you to be mindful that these things could potentially be hurtful to persons in this particular time, and it could also cause them unnecessary stress and trauma, which they don't need during this time. So we want persons to remember to be respectful and to use the time to connect with persons, to stay connected with people, rather than trying to cause unnecessary stress on individuals.
A 24-hour virtual prayer vigil is being organized by several churches in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. President of the SVG Christian Council, Reverend Adolph Davis, told SVG-TV News via telephone interview that since the COVID-19 pandemic, churches have been in prayer for SVG, but they felt that it is timely and appropriate now after the announcement by the Prime Minister declaring the 2 days of public holidays, which makes it a long weekend. Reverend Davis said the virtual prayer vigil will be held on several online platforms.
While we've been praying, independent communions and congregations, and we've been having several prayer engagements as we continue to lift up our nation in light of all that we've been going through, and we have been going through a lot. The COVID spikes obviously has been an area of great interest for all intentions. And so we agreed we'll use this weekend, particularly not the weekend really, we had scheduled Saturday at 6 p.m. at 6 p.m. to Sunday at 6 p.m. and the intention is to really do it virtually. So over that 24-hour period, we're hoping to use Zoom, YouTube, Facebook platforms so that people can come in and be a part of a time in prayer for our nation. We have also heard now that the Prime Minister has actually, said that the weekend would be a holiday. So it seems to fit in very nicely with what we had been considering and what we have decided to do.
Reverend Davis noted that they have not yet finalized the program for the prayer vigil, but that it will focus on national issues, specifically COVID-19, dengue, and the Lasso Frere volcano.
Basically, what it is more than likely going to be is that different ministers are going to and pastors are going to lead different slots during the 24-hour period. And as I said, the main areas of focus would include the COVID situation, the dengue, and the volcano. Those are going to be certainly 3 focal areas, but it's going to be much more than those.
Close to 10 church leaders have so far committed to participating in the prayer vigil, and according to Reverend Davis, they will be reaching out to more churches before Saturday.
We have covered, I think, a significant representative-wise. Obviously, we haven't spoken with all the pastors from all the churches and all the different denominations. But in terms of representative-wise, we really, I think, have so far, and we'll be engaging others, covered a fairly significant cross-section of the church community in St. Vincent. But we'll obviously be trying to engage others as well. This is not some closed circuit something. It is something that we're hoping will continue to be engaging for the entire nation.
The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is revising its evacuation plan, bearing in mind that the possibility exists for an explosive eruption at the Lasso Frere volcano. In his address to the nation last evening, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said that a team of scientists on the ground here have informed the authorities that there are 3 scenarios of the likely outcome of the new lava dome that continues to effusively erupt at Lasso Frere. Hence, changes have to be made to NEMO's evacuation plan as part of its preparedness.
Some changes have been made to the plan, including the adding of gathering or meeting points for each community and the transportation plan. This revision is expected to be finalized by Wednesday, and it will be represented to all the communities in the red and orange zones. If there's an eruption, an explosive eruption this time around, persons being evacuated will know beforehand where they're going, as general locations within each community will be housed, where they will be housed. And these have already been identified.
The Prime Minister said that should there be an explosive eruption, Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh, which are in the orange zone, residents of Chateaubelair and Fitzhugh, which are in the orange zone, will be among the first to be evacuated. The education and food sectors have been recorded by the National Insurance Services as being highly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Providing the data on the radio Sunday, Executive Director of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Anthony Regisford, said that there were several categories of unemployment benefits, with the most registered by persons in the food and education sectors, as well as construction, agriculture, and fisheries.
So in the accommodation and food services activities sector, the NIS recorded 132 businesses affected, of which the beneficiaries were 1,111. Administrative and support activities, 19 businesses, 58 beneficiaries. In the agriculture and forestry and fishing sector, 4 businesses, 7 beneficiaries. Arts, entertainment and recreation, 9 businesses, 21 beneficiaries. Construction, 50 businesses, 198 beneficiaries. Education, which is interesting because I myself a little startled when I saw this number, 101. And I'm assuming that a lot of this has to do with preschool and other people who make a living from the education sector.
Regisford also noted that more than 200 local businesses have been affected, with more than 2,000 persons laid off.
Beneficiaries, which is the workers who were either laid off because of downturn in business, or temporary closure of the business, or permanent closure. And tell you of the affected businesses, including self-employed, 2,086 that temporarily closed, permanently closed, or had to have laid off workers. That's what that means.
And President of the SVG Hotel and Tourism Association, Kim Halbish, in a telephone interview with SVG-TV News Today, shared how local stakeholders have been coping amidst the global fallout caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. She said members have been creative in keeping their business operations going.
It's been pretty difficult. Members have been coping by putting staff, either laying some off, rotating them, basically cutting back to minimum of expenses. We got a small reprieve when we were able to do some transitioning, when persons had to quarantine once arriving for 5 days, then it went 10 days in December, and presently it's 14 days. That being said, now with the spread, we also concentrated on the local market. So we did staycation, where the person spent the day at the hotel, or couples spent the weekend, or families pushing takeaway meals and encouraging the local market to use the properties. But now with the spread, that is going to fall off significantly, or has been falling off significantly.
The strains of the pandemic were also relief for hotel and hotel workers by external support, as workers receive supplemental income support from the government of $300, while VINLEC gave hotels a 15% discount on electricity, and Flow did not charge them for service that was not used. Additionally, Halby said while some members receive a bit of income from persons using their properties to quarantine, there has been some drawbacks to the opportunity.
It was not a windfall by any stretch of imagination, because persons had reduced rates, and the cost for doing one room in a quarantine setting was almost double what it would be for a regular room night. So persons would come in, turn on an AC, and it'll be on for 5 days or 10 days. Who are normal visitors will spend the nights in the room, but every day they're out exploring. So the energy cost on the rooms pretty much doubled. So those are some of the small issues, plumbing issues because persons are living there, wear and tear. So there are some small issues associated with it, but it helps. Quite a few of the properties were able to have a small income and they were able to have their staff feel like something's happening.
Should the pandemic continue on to the end of 2021 and beyond, Halbish noted a dim future for many members who sadly may not be able to keep their doors open.
It's bad now. I have members who are saying they're shutting their doors completely. We have members who they shut up and say we'll start next season. But not many persons can afford to do that. The hotels on St. Vincent and the Grenadines mainly are small family-run businesses, and so it's difficult times. It's not like we're a conglomerate where we could put move your assets to this to make
Despite the impact and uncertainty, Halbish highlighted how some members of the SVG Hotel and Tourism Association plan to move forward beyond the pandemic.
We're surviving. We're barely surviving. It's getting harder because we see now that we have flights being cancelled. There was a big increase for Christmas, but now we're seeing numbers going down steadily. And with no planes coming, then nobody will be coming. Not many people will be coming. So it looks like it's going to be a rough 6 months ahead of us, and we're hoping to continue with the stipend, and we will appeal to VINMAC again to see what they can do to help us and try and hold it together. The hotels and the taxis, as I said, got a little reprieve with the transitioning. But the other members, like the yacht charter companies, the dive shops, the tour operators, they have been doing terrible in that area.
Just by way of an announcement, the general public is asked to note that the Agriculture Input Warehouse Kingston Fish Market closed from today, Tuesday, January 19th, 2021 to Tuesday, January 26th in order to facilitate the sanitization of the building. The Fisheries Division in the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, in conjunction with industry stakeholders, is advising that consumers wishing to purchase fish and fish products to contact the various fisheries centers, among other providers in your area, for the supply of fish and fish products.